So I start a video about something very serious, and 6 minutes in, I make a gigantic blooper. And I don't know how to edit this stuff, so I'm just starting over. Anyway, today's topic is DID, Dissociative Identity Disorder. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, surely some of you have, but I would say all of you have heard of multiple personality disorder. I think it was back in the 90s when it was changed from multiple personality to dissociative identity. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist. I've not really studied this out except for how it pertains to my life. I'm not totally sure on the definition of multiple personality disorder, but I understand it just according to what the terms are, multiple personalities. I believe that they were, not necessarily that they were, but that they were diagnosed as distinct personalities within an individual. Sybil and comes to mind, and then there's some more recent ones that I have neither seen nor watched. Mainly because the Hollywood garbage just adds confusion to people, so I have no desire to see any of that. I've learned about this from books and YouTube videos by people who have it. Okay. This is where it hits the pavement. 2 months ago, a little over 2 months ago, my boyfriend and I broke up, and it wasn't our first breakup. Apparently, he says that all the other breakups I had instigated, and I had no memory of that. And I kept telling him, when I act that way, it's because I'm not feeling loved, I'm feeling scared, and I need reinforcement. However, I realize what I'm carrying, the trauma I'm carrying, is a lot for anybody to deal with, so I'm not angry with him. And I know if I were on the other side and I had to deal with it, how would I do it? I don't know. I know that it would be difficult, and maybe I'd doubt, maybe I'd say, oh, you're just using that as an excuse. I don't know. But anyway, I have no animosity towards him. I just want to explain what happened with me. Okay, so we had a misunderstanding, and I broke up with him through Messenger. I sent texts and voices and broke up with him. And had I deleted it, I would have never even known I did that. And of course he thinks I dumped him in a horrible way, and I did. But I didn't know. I only knew because the evidence was there. But there's no memory of me doing it. So that was weird. Some other things that have happened to me over the last 2 months, which are kind of comical. One time I found myself walking into Hobby Lobby. I don't go to Hobby Lobby. I'm not a crafty person. I went one time to buy some stuff to make for my granddaughter, which I haven't even finished making. And that was like back last late winter, early spring. And I came to as I'm walking into the door, and I thought, well, this is weird, so I turned around and left. Another time I was at Walmart, and the woman waiting on me, she has really pretty red hair, curly red hair, and it used to be really long, and it was like between her chin and shoulders. And I said, oh, you got your hair cut, it's really cute. And she looked at me really funny. And I'm like, wasn't your hair long? She says, yeah, I got it cut 2 months ago, and it's grown like 2 inches since. I'm like, oh, I guess I haven't seen you. Well, then I got an even funnier look. So probably I'd seen her and commented on her hair prior to that. Kind of funny stuff. My kids will tell me about things, say, hey, Mom, remember when? Whatever, and no, I don't remember. Everybody dissociates driving down the highway. You're on a road trip, and it's a long drive, and you dissociate. You might miss your exit. Your brain just kind of goes into autopilot, and nobody's really in danger because you're still functioning on some level. So that's sort of what this is like. And that's what I knew I was always doing for years and years, even as a child. But when someone came to me and said they thought I had it, I started looking into it, and then I realized that with DID, when you're little, something traumatic happened, and your brain shuts that off. It kind of seals that memory so that you don't have to carry it with you. And if other trauma happens, it can keep happening. You can have a fragment split off your core personality, or you can have a fragment split off of a fragment. Sorry, my nose itches. So I know I had a baby, and I know I had a 3-year-old. I had a 9-year-old. I had a 13-year-old. I had a 17-year-old. The 17-year-old split in my last relationship and turned into someone in her 30s. I had a protector who was kind of militant towards other people, and I think she's the one, I say she, but really it's me. It was that protective part of me that stays sealed off, and she goes to bat for me when I'm really hurting, and I don't remember anything she did. I had another protector that wasn't so militant, but that tried to be kind. I'm saved, but if I was going to say, is each personality saved? If one wasn't, that one militant one would have not been saved. She was not living for God. The other one, she was living for God, and when she tried to protect me, she still tried to be kind to other people. 6 minutes into almost 7 minutes into this. This is getting harder. Just bear with me while I gain my composure right now. Okay. 2 weeks ago, as I was feeling like this, I would have shifted into a different personality. But right now, I'm not. It's no evidence of any of that apprehension that would come before it happened, because once I realized I had this, I could tell when it was happening, and I can do grounding exercises to prevent myself. But now, that's not there. It's all gone. So, anyway, I think I've pretty much explained what it is. These personalities just, some of them are aware of others, some aren't. My worst experience was I was driving my daughter to her karate lesson, and I started to hear a baby cry. And it dawned on me that through the years I have heard a baby cry and didn't know where it was coming from. And this time I realized it was inside of me. When we went to karate, came home, and that baby continued to cry. It cried for 7 hours. I went to bed that night. The baby was crying. I was praying to Jesus, please comfort the baby in me. I don't know why there's a baby in me crying. My parents were good parents. I don't know that it had anything to do with my babyhood. I don't know if somebody babysat me when I was a baby and something happened. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I just know that there was a part of me that identified as a baby that needed soothing. So I woke up the next morning, did not hear the baby. So then I'm wondering, has this baby been crying in a room in my brain for 30 years and I just can't always hear it? Because I'm not aware of all my personality parts. They're not separate personalities, so I don't like to call them personalities. They're parts or fragments. They are able to operate as a complete individual, but they are all severed parts from my main core. Okay, so anyway, I'm praying about this baby because I'm not feeling at peace about it at all. And then I got a vision of the baby laying in a crib, sound asleep, in a room with a toddler bed, and a toddler was sleeping. So I felt like God was telling me the baby and the 3-year-old in me had combined into one. The 3-year-old in me has a lot of trauma. Babysitters, family acquaintance, lots of trauma. I have some memories, but I don't want the rest of the memories of the bad stuff. So anyway, where am I going with this? I do this all the time. I start thinking about something and it leads to another thought, and then I get sidetracked. So I'm trying to stay focused. And because I have the disposition of dissociating, I'm aware of that, I don't ever want it to happen again. Anyway, I've not told a lot of people about this because when I first heard of multiple personality disorder, well, no, not when I first heard of it. I guess I really didn't think about it because I was a kid when Sybil came out. But later in life, I thought it was demon possession. And I thought it was demons taking over your mind and making you think that you were them. It's not the case. DID, each fragment is part of the whole. Now, there can be demons associated with each part or with the core. Demons that oppress you. I don't believe Christians get possessed, but we certainly are oppressed by demons all the time. So I'm not saying there weren't demons involved, but it's not demon possession. And I want to make that clear. And as hard as this is to talk about because so many people do think it's demon possession, or that you're super, super crazy or schizophrenic or whatever, I want people to know that this isn't as crazy as you would realize, and there's probably more people with it than you realize. They say 1 to 3% of the population has DID. That's about the same as how many have red hair. However, after talking to people, I would guess it's more like 10%. The people that I'm in communication with, I would say it's 10%. So it's pretty serious. So anyway, this is getting long, but I'm just going to continue it. About a week ago, I got up the nerve to tell an elder at the church that I had DID. I'm not sure that he believes the way I believe about it, but I also knew he would pray for me. And this past Sunday, we had a guest speaker, and he called people up for prayer for various things, and I went out for 2 of the things, and my pastor prayed for me and moved down the line, and then this elder came and prayed for me, and I broke down. It's not the first time he's prayed for me, and it's not the first time I broke down when he prayed for me, but prior to Sunday, all the other times it was like layers of oppression and depression and grief were coming off of me. He said, the breakup 2 months ago. It was devastating. I thought it was depression, but after a conversation with one of my daughters, I feel like it wasn't really depression, it was grief. And I was in and out of the stages of grief, and it was just as bad as if he died. Denial, bargaining, it was horrible. But it got me to where I am today, so as much as I don't ever want to go through that again, I'm also grateful because now I'm an intact person. I'll go back to the prayer. This person prayed for me, and I broke down, and not knowing for sure how much of me had been healed, went home, and over the course of the next 2 days, 3 different situations happened that would have caused me to dissociate and split into a different identity, personality, whatever. I hate calling them that, but I don't know how else to explain it to somebody who doesn't know what it is. Basically, it's like if you drop a glass and the glass shatters, it's one of those glasses, it's a broken part of the glass, and maybe you couldn't glue the glass back together and use it again. Maybe you can't, but that's how my parts felt, like broken pieces off of me. And as I got aware of them and started to get some of their memories, it was hard because I knew I didn't want all of their memories. So I had been praying, God, let me become aware of these parts, let me understand DID, prepare me to be healed. But I did not expect a total healing or deliverance this fast, 2 months in. People can go to therapy for a decade and not get better. So anyway, situations happened, and then as the week has gone on, a couple other things happened that would have sent me into a shift, where I would have shifted to a different personality, or a different, what appears to be separate personality, but just a broken part. And it hasn't happened. So I know God's healed me. And I'm very grateful for that. And I want to share this with people because I know I'm not the only one. And the stigma needs to be removed because there's healing, there's deliverance. And I know that the devil is going to be after me and he's going to try to make it happen again. And if I walk in sin and veer off the path I'm on, I know it could happen again. It does not happen to your average adult because it has to start in childhood. But my brain already knows how to split. My brain knows how to make fragments. Sorry. I'm not going to start this over for that blooper. Anyway, so it's a real concern, and I'm going to stay involved in the groups I'm in to support others with this and to help me to not ever fall back into that. I want to talk about the sin aspect of it, though. Sin is always involved, but it's not the sin of the person that has DID. It's the sin of what was done to them. Now, once they have it, their fragments can cause them to sin, and mine did. And when I realized I had it and that some of them were causing me to sin, I knew that I had to do something about it. I didn't think it would go away this quickly, and I'm glad it did. But at the same time, I hope I've gone through enough of it to be able to help other people that have it and to be able to explain it to other people so that they can be supportive of people who have it. I will probably share more about this later on, but this is getting long and it's probably going to take a couple of hours to upload. If you've stayed with me and listened to this whole thing, I thank you so much. And I ask that you would not be skeptical and that you would research it. Look for Encina on YouTube, MedCircle. Encina's interviews with MedCircle. I learned so much from them. And then I think there's another one, The Many Faces of Jane. She helped me. So do your homework. Don't just take my word, but at the same time, don't just jump to conclusions and think, oh, it's craziness or it's demonic possession, because it isn't. It was a gift from God. It protects a person from spiraling into major depression and possible suicide, because some of us have some really horrific memories that we cannot face. Thank you again for listening. Please subscribe and please tell others about my channel too.